The message arrived without sound. No explosion, no warning siren, no alien fleet breaking through Earth's defenses. It simply appeared. Every screen on Earth turned black at the exact same second. Phones, televisions, military command centers, deep space observatories, even old analog monitors in forgotten research labs. Then the stars appeared. Not Earth's sky, a different sky. A red dwarf sun burned in the distance. A broken ring world drifted in orbit around it. Thousands of ships hovered in perfect formation, stretching across space like a wall made of metal and light. Then the signal translated itself. No one had time to decode it. It decoded humanity. Languages shifted in real time. English, Mandarin, Arabic, Spanish, Hindi, Russian. Every person heard the message in their own native tongue. The figure that appeared was not human. Tall, thin, silver skin like polished steel, large black eyes without pupils, a narrow face that did not move when it spoke. But the voice was calm, cold. Citizens of Earth, it said, we are the sovereign collective of Andromeda. In Washington, D.C., inside the Underground Strategic Defense Command, General Marcus Hale stared at the screen without blinking. Around him, officers froze. No one breathed. The alien continued. You have expanded beyond your star. You have tested weapons capable of disturbing subspace stability. You have entered restricted galactic territory. Images appeared behind the alien. Human warships, classified vessels. Black projects humanity believed no one else knew about. General Hale felt something cold move through his chest. They were watching. For a long time. You are a destabilizing species, the alien said. Your history is defined by conflict. Your technological growth is exponential. Your aggression is statistically inevitable. Across the world, panic began to rise. Markets crashed in seconds. Military satellites went blind. Fighter jets scrambled without orders. The alien raised one long hand. Behind it, one of the massive Andromeda ships moved. It did not fire a beam. It did not launch a missile. It simply pulsed once. A distant moon in the alien system shattered. Not cracked, not damaged, shattered into dust. The message zoomed in on the debris cloud. That was a demonstration. The alien said calmly, in 72 of your hours, you will transmit unconditional surrender. All military expansion will cease. All off-world colonies will submit to Andromeda authority. The alien leaned slightly forward. If you do not comply, Earth will be obliterated. The screen went black, and just like that, the stars returned to normal. Phones restarted. Televisions flickered. Silence filled the world. Then chaos began. General Hale turned slowly toward his staff. Tell me that was fake. No one answered. Dr. Lena Varma, head astrophysicist of Defense Initiative, swallowed hard. It wasn't fake, she said quietly. We tracked the gravitational distortion. That moon was real, and it's gone. The room felt smaller. They gave us 72 hours, Hale said. Yes, sir. And they expect surrender. Yes, sir. Hale looked back at the dark screen. He had seen war. He had commanded fleets. He had made decisions that cost lives. But this was different. This was extinction. Across the planet, governments attempted calm speeches. We are analyzing the situation. There is no immediate threat. Humanity stands united, but people had seen the moon explode. No government could erase that image. Churches filled. Cities panicked. Some celebrated the end. Others prepared for war. In orbit above Earth, humanity's strongest defense fleet powered up quietly. The Atlas-class dreadnoughts activated shield arrays. Carrier groups deployed stealth squadrons. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, something far larger than any known ship began to wake. Hidden projects. Last resorts. Humanity had secrets, too. Inside a classified lunar base known only as Bastion, Admiral Sophia Reyes watched the recording again. She did not blink when the moon shattered. They want us afraid, she said. They succeeded, her tactical officer replied. Reyes shook her head. No, they want us to surrender. She turned to the massive reinforced window overlooking space. Earth hung below, blue and fragile. They studied us, she continued. They know our history. They think fear controls us. She smiled slightly. They don't understand humans. In Andromeda space, aboard command vessel Zenith Throne, the silver figure observed Earth through quantum projection. Compliance probability? It asked. Another alien responded. 73%. The species shows high survival instinct when faced with superior force. And resistance? Statistically insignificant. The first alien watched Earth rotate slowly. Primitive species collapse when confronted with inevitability, it said. Prepare containment fleets. Back on Earth, General Hale entered a restricted chamber beneath the Pentagon. 2 biometric locks scanned his eyes. A final steel door opened. Inside was a single table. 3 civilians waited. They did not look like politicians. They looked like engineers. The oldest one stood. So, the woman said, they finally introduced themselves. Hale stared. You knew? We suspected, she replied. Long-range anomalies. Observed surveillance patterns. We believed first contact would not be friendly. Hale felt anger rise. And you didn't tell the world? We were building something. She pressed a button. The wall behind her shifted, revealing a holographic projection. A ship, but not like anything seen before. It was massive, angular, built around a central core that glowed faint blue. What is that? Hale whispered. The engineer met his eyes. That, General, is humanity's answer. 70 hours remained. Across Earth, fear turned into something else. Defiance. Factories moved to full production. Shipyards in orbit worked without pause. Messages spread online. We do not kneel. We survived ourselves. Let them come. In small towns and giant cities, people looked up at the stars differently now, not with curiosity, with challenge. On the dark side of the moon, hidden from every civilian telescope, the prototype vessel slowly powered up. Its core brightened. Energy surged through unknown systems. Its name appeared across internal displays. HFS Indomitable, built in secret, designed for a war no one believed would come this soon. Admiral Reyes stood inside its command bridge. Status, she said. Primary reactor stable. Quantum lattice online. Experimental weapon systems charging. Reyes placed her hands behind her back. Good, she said softly, because in 70 hours we enter Andromeda. Far beyond Pluto, long-range sensors detected movement. The first Andromeda fleet had begun its journey, and humanity had just made a decision. They would not surrender. They would not beg. If Earth was going to burn, it would not burn alone. The world did not sleep. After the first message from Andromeda, no one truly could. 70 hours remained. The countdown glowed in red across every military command center on Earth. News channels tried to speak calmly, but their voices shook. Analysts argued. Religious leaders prayed. Economists stopped pretending numbers still mattered, because none of it mattered if Earth did not survive. Inside the Pentagon's underground war chamber, General Marcus Hale stood in silence as a new alert appeared on the central display. Long-range sensors confirmed movement beyond Pluto. An officer reported. How many? Hale asked. The officer swallowed. More than we predicted. Red markers multiplied across the holographic star map. Not dozens. Hundreds. The Andromeda fleet was not waiting 72 hours. They were coming now. On the moon, Admiral Sophia Reyes watched the same data feed from Bastion Command. They want us afraid, her tactical officer said quietly. They want us rushed, Reyes corrected. Fear made humans react without thinking. But rushing made humans make mistakes. Reyes did not plan to do either. Status of Indomitable? She asked. Primary reactor stable. Quantum compression core at 82%. Gravitic shields calibrated. The massive prototype vessel rested inside a hidden lunar dock. Its dark hull absorbed light instead of reflecting it. No markings. No visible weapons. It did not look impressive. It looked dangerous. Back on Earth, emergency meetings ended with one final vote. No surrender message would be sent. Not now. Not in 70 hours. Not ever. The decision was classified, but somehow the world felt it. Recruitment stations filled beyond capacity. Former rivals shared intelligence. Old warships were pulled from museums and recommissioned. Factories shifted overnight from civilian production to military output. Humanity had made its choice. 30 hours after the first message, the Andromeda fleet crossed the outer boundary of the solar system. They did not hide. They did not sneak. They entered like conquerors. Massive silver ships formed precise geometric patterns. Their hulls glowed with controlled energy. Smaller escort craft surrounded them like disciplined guardians. The sight alone was enough to crush hope. On Earth, millions watched live telescope feeds. "They're beautiful," someone whispered on a broadcast. "Yes," the anchor replied quietly. "And they came to kill us." General Hale opened a secure channel to Admiral Reyes. "They're closer than expected." "I know," she answered. "Can Indomitable engage?" "Yes." A pause. "But once we reveal it, there's no going back." Hale stared at the star map. There was no going back the moment they shattered that moon. Reyes nodded once. "Then we move." The lunar dock doors opened slowly. For the first time, the HFS Indomitable emerged into open space. Its engines ignited with a deep blue glow. Unlike other human ships, it did not roar forward aggressively. It moved smoothly, controlled, purposeful. Hidden systems activated across its surface. Armor plates shifted. Energy nodes awakened along its spine. Inside the bridge, Reyes felt the vibration through the deck. Course plotted, navigation confirmed. "Set intercept trajectory," she ordered. They would not wait near Earth. They would meet the Andromeda fleet far from home. The first Andromeda strike came without warning. A forward human scout ship near Neptune reported a sudden energy spike. Then it was gone. No explosion. No debris. Erase. The message was clear. The invasion had begun. Engagement range in 20 minutes, Reyes was told. Human fleets repositioned quickly. Atlas-class dreadnoughts formed offensive arcs. Carrier groups launched fighter squadrons. Missile platforms powered up. For the first time in history, every major spacefaring nation fought under one command structure. There were no flags on the battlefield, only humanity. On the Zenith throne, the Andromeda Overseer observed the solar system calmly. "Resistance confirmed," a strategist reported. "Yes," the Overseer said, "as predicted." "Shall we begin planetary suppression?" "Not yet." The Overseer zoomed in on the Indomitable's energy signature. "There," it said softly. "That vessel is new. Human experimental platform. Assess threat level. The strategist process data. Unknown." The Overseer's dark eyes narrowed slightly. "Then we remove it first." The two fleets finally entered visual range. Human ships looked worn and practical. Andromeda vessels looked flawless and superior. Silence filled the void between them. Then Andromeda fired first. A wave of white energy beams cut across space, striking the outer human formation. 2 frigates exploded. A cruiser lost power instantly. Human ships returned fire in coordinated volleys. Railgun slugs streaked forward. Missiles ignited across the darkness. Explosions blossomed against alien shields. For a moment, it looked like nothing worked. Then an Andromeda escort ship flickered. Its shield collapsed. A second later, it detonated. Cheers erupted across human command channels. "They bleed," someone said. "Yes," Reyes replied calmly. "They do." The battle intensified rapidly. Andromeda ships fired with terrifying precision, each shot destroying or crippling a human vessel. But humans adapted. Fighter squadrons broke formation and attacked from unpredictable angles. Missile salvos were staggered, overwhelming shield frequencies. Boarding pods launched toward damaged alien ships. Chaos began to replace order, and chaos was something humans understood well. Indomitable weapons ready. Reyes was informed. She stepped forward slightly. "Target their central command ship. That vessel's shield output is off the charts." "I know." The Indomitable's core pulsed brighter. Space distorted in front of it as energy gathered. Even nearby human ships felt the gravitational shift. Fire, a beam of deep blue energy, erupted forward. It did not flicker. It did not scatter. It punched directly into the Andromeda command vessel. Alien shields flared violently, cracked, collapsed. The beam tore through the hull, exiting in a burst of molten metal and plasma. The command ship split apart. For the first time, the Andromeda formation faltered. On the zenithron, alarm sounded. Primary command vessel destroyed. The overseer stared at the screen. Impossible. Human vessel responsible. The overseer's gaze hardened. Redirect all fire toward that ship. Back on the Indomitable, warning lights flashed. Multiple enemy locks. Shields taking heavy fire. The ship shook violently as white beams struck its hull. Shield levels dropped rapidly. 40%. 32. Reyes did not move. Charge second shot. Admiral, the reactor cannot sustain. Charge it. If they were going to fall, they would fall breaking the enemy's spine. Outside, dozens of Andromeda ships aligned in a new pattern. Energy began pooling between them. Admiral, Tactical said quietly, they're forming a combined weapon. Projected trajectory appeared on screen. Target, Earth. Time to fire, 9 minutes. Silence filled the bridge. The enemy had decided. If the fleet battle was uncertain, they would erase the planet itself. Reyes felt no fear, only clarity. All human ships, she transmitted, intercept at all costs. Human vessels surged forward again, throwing themselves into the forming alien alignment. Explosions lit up the void. Ships collided. Fighters rammed weapon nodes. Every second delayed the charge. On the Indomitable, the core reached critical output. Fire, Reyes ordered. The second blue beam shot into the center of the alien formation. For one long heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the combined energy sphere destabilized violently. Instead of firing toward Earth, it detonated among the Andromeda fleet. A massive shockwave tore through dozens of their ships. The formation shattered. The planetary weapon failed. Earth still lived, but the Indomitable's reactor screamed in overload. Core breach imminent, an engineer shouted. Reyes gripped the command rail. Outside, damaged Andromeda ships regrouped. They were not retreating. They were adapting, and from deeper space, even larger energy signatures were beginning to appear. Reinforcements. Reyes stared at the incoming readings. This had only been their forward fleet. The real armada was still coming. She opened a channel to General Hale. They underestimated us, she said quietly, but they're done underestimating. The new Andromeda signatures multiplied across the display. Bigger, stronger, more numerous. The war had just escalated. The battlefield fell into an uneasy silence. Wreckage drifted slowly between the fleets. Broken human ships spun without power. Fragments of Andromeda vessels burned quietly, leaking strange silver light into space. For the first time since the invasion began, both sides paused, not because the battle was over, but because both sides were recalculating. On Earth, billions watched the live feeds transmitted from military satellites. Human ships were still there. Earth still existed. Cities erupted in cautious celebration. Strangers hugged in streets. Soldiers watching from bases around the world allowed themselves one breath of relief. Humanity had survived the first clash. But General Marcus Hale did not celebrate. He stared at the tactical display, showing new signals entering the solar system. More Andromeda ships. Far more. They weren't sending an invasion fleet, he said quietly. An officer beside him nodded grimly. That was a scouting force. Hale felt the weight of the realization settle. The real war was just beginning. On the bridge of the HFS Indomitable, emergency crews worked rapidly. Smoke filled parts of the ship. Several decks had lost power. Engineers rushed between exposed panels as alarms flashed red across the command displays. Reactor temperature stabilizing. Engineering reported. Damage. Severe but contained. Reyes allowed herself a small nod. They were still alive. Outside the viewport, damaged Andromeda ships slowly reformed their lines. Even after losing vessels, their movements remained precise. Disciplined. Cold. They're regrouping, her tactical officer said. Yes, Reyes replied. They're learning. That worried her more than their weapons. Inside the Zenith throne, the Andromeda Overseer studied battle data. Humanity had destroyed command assets, disrupted eradication protocol, inflicted measurable losses. None of those outcomes fit prediction models. Update analysis. The Overseer ordered. A strategist responded carefully. Human behavior indicates irrational combat doctrine. Define irrational. They accept catastrophic losses to achieve localized advantage. The Overseer watched recordings of human fighters ramming alien weapons, ships sacrificing themselves to break formation. They choose death willingly. Yes. Silence lingered. Then the Overseer spoke again. Adjust classification. The strategist hesitated. From primitive species to emerging threat. For Andromeda, that was not a small change. It meant humanity was no longer prey. Humanity was now an opponent. Back near Neptune, human fleets reorganized. Admiral Reyes opened a system-wide communication channel. Her voice reached every surviving human ship. All commands, report status. Damage reports streamed in. 30% fleet losses. Ammunition reserves falling. Shield systems degraded. But morale was rising because they had done the impossible. They had hurt Andromeda. Lieutenant Arjun Rao's squadron, what remained of it, floated near a crippled carrier. Only 4 fighters remained operational. We actually survived, one pilot whispered over comms. Rao looked toward the massive alien fleet, reforming ahead. No, he replied quietly. We're still surviving. Suddenly, long-range sensors screamed warnings. Multiple hyperspace ruptures detected. Reyes turned sharply. How many? The tactical officer's voice dropped. Too many to count. Space itself began to tear open beyond the Andromeda line. Massive glowing fractures appeared, stretching thousands of kilometers wide. From them emerged new ships. Gigantic vessels dwarfing everything seen before. Some were the size of cities. Others carried weapon arrays longer than human destroyers. The true Andromeda Armada had arrived. On Earth, celebrations died instantly. The new fleet filled screens across the planet. Someone on a broadcast whispered what everyone felt. Oh, God! General Hale spoke quietly. Estimate. Enemy strength increased by 400%. Humanity's earlier victories suddenly looked small. Very small. The Overseer issued new commands. Human resistance exceeds expectations. Initiate full dominance demonstration. Across the Andromeda Armada, energy systems activated simultaneously. Unlike earlier attacks, these ships did not target the fleet. They targeted the sun. Energy beams converged toward the star at the center of the system. Rhea's eyes widened. What are they doing? Astrophysics analysis arrived seconds later. They're manipulating solar output. The beam struck the sun's outer layers, triggering massive solar instability. A gigantic flare erupted outward. If uncontrolled, it would reach Earth within hours. Not a direct attack. A lesson. They were showing they could destroy humanity without even firing at the planet. Inside the Zenith throne, the Overseer watched calmly. Observe, it said. Demonstrate inevitability. Human ships scrambled desperately. This isn't combat, Reyes muttered. It's intimidation. Her tactical officer looked pale. Can we stop it? Reyes stared at the Indomitable's damage reactor readings. Maybe, but it might kill them. She opened a channel to General Hale. They're weaponizing the sun. Hale closed his eyes briefly. Options. 1. Reyes said, the Indomitable might disrupt the energy convergence. Might. It was never tested against something this large. Hale nodded slowly. If we do nothing, Earth burns. The answer required no debate. Then do it. Reyes turned to her crew. Prepare maximum reactor output. Engineers froze. Admiral. Another discharge to destroy the ship. She met their eyes. Then we make it worth it. The Indomitable accelerated directly toward the solar convergence point. Human ships followed, forming a protective screen despite overwhelming odds. Andromeda vessels reacted immediately, firing heavy weapons to intercept. Explosions surrounded the advancing human formation. Several ships were destroyed instantly. But they continued forward, because retreat was no longer possible. Inside the Indomitable, the reactor core glowed brighter than ever before. Gravity distorted across the bridge. Lights flickered. Hull stress warning screamed. Energy alignment ready. Engineering shouted. Reyes steadied herself. Target the convergence node. The sun filled the forward view, raging violently under alien manipulation. Fire. The Indomitable unleashed its most powerful discharge yet. The blue beam struck the center of the Andromeda energy web surrounding the sun. For a terrifying moment, nothing changed. Then the alien beams destabilized. One by one, Andromeda's ships lost synchronization. The solar flare collapsed inward instead of expanding. The star stabilized. Earth was safe again. Across the Andromeda fleet, confusion rippled. The overseer stared at the data. Solar dominance protocol interrupted. Probability models shifted rapidly. Human threat assessment increased again. The overseer spoke slowly. They adapt faster than expected. For the first time, Andromeda forces changed posture, not advancing, not demonstrating, preparing for war. Real war. On the Indomitable, alarms reached maximum volume. Reactor critical. Containment failure in progress. The ship trembled violently. Reyes held the command rail as systems struggled to stabilize. Outside, the massive Andromeda armada reorganized into full combat formation. Thousands of weapons began charging simultaneously. This time, there would be no demonstrations, no warnings, only annihilation. Reyes looked at the growing enemy fleet. "They're done playing," she said quietly. Behind the alien armada, something even larger began emerging from hyperspace. A vessel unlike anything seen before. A flagship, a world killer, and it was coming directly toward Earth. Space went dark. Not because the stars vanished, because something enormous blocked them. The new Andromeda vessel emerged slowly from hyperspace, larger than anything humanity had ever imagined possible. It did not resemble a ship. It resembled a moving continent made of silver metal and flowing energy. Its surface shifted constantly, like liquid reflecting distant suns. Sensors struggled to measure it. "Size estimate?" Admiral Reyes asked. The tactical officer hesitated. Larger than Earth's moon. Silence filled the bridge of the HFS Indomitable. This was not reinforcement. This was execution. Across Earth, observatories locked onto the incoming object. Every screen displayed the same terrifying image. The alien flagship eclipsed entire star fields as it advanced toward the inner solar system. News anchors stopped speaking mid-sentence. Crowds gathered outside in cities around the world, staring upward even though nothing was visible yet. Human instinct understood before science confirmed it. Something unstoppable was coming. Inside the Pentagon war chamber, General Marcus Hale felt the room grow colder. "Designation?" he asked. Dr. Lena Varma answered quietly. "It's not a carrier, not a command ship." She zoomed in on the structure's energy core. Multiple weapon arrays rotated slowly across its surface. Planet-scale emitters. Her voice dropped. "It's a world killer." No one argued. On the Zenith throne, the Andromeda overseer stood before the projection of the solar system. "The humans resist beyond acceptable tolerance," it said. "Deploy sovereign execution platform." The massive flagship continued forward. Its purpose was simple: end resistance permanently. Human fleets repositioned instinctively, forming defensive lines between Earth and the approaching giant. Admiral Reyes watched weapon readings climb higher than anything recorded before. "That thing doesn't need a fleet," one officer whispered. Reyes nodded. "It is the fleet." Energy gathered across the flagship's surface. Entire sections unfolded like mechanical petals. Thousands of emitters aligned toward Earth. Time to firing solution. 20 minutes. Panic spread across civilian channels. Emergency broadcasts instructed people to seek shelter. There was no shelter. Underground bunkers would not survive planetary destruction. Families gathered together. Some prayed. Some cried. Some simply watched the sky, refusing to look away. Humanity faced extinction together. General Hale opened a secure channel. "Admiral Reyes." Her hologram appeared instantly. We cannot stop that with conventional weapons, Hale said. I know. Options. Reyes turned slightly, looking toward the glowing core of the Indomitable. 1. Hale waited. We hit it first, she said. The plan was simple, and almost certainly fatal. The Indomitable would strike directly at the World Killer's core, while the remaining human fleet distracted its defenses. If they failed, Earth would die. Hale nodded slowly. Approved. There were no speeches left to give. All ships. Reyes transmitted across humanity's fleet. This is Admiral Reyes. Target priority. Sovereign execution platform. Her voice remained calm. We hold the line here. Human ships accelerated forward. Damaged cruisers. Half-functional destroyers. Fighter squadrons running on emergency power. They advanced anyway, because there was nowhere left to retreat. The Andromeda flagship reacted instantly. Defensive drones launched in massive waves. Energy beams swept across space like scythes. Human ships exploded one after another. Entire squadrons vanished. Yet more ships pushed forward, weaving through fire, launching missiles at impossible angles. Railgun rounds struck the flagship shields. The impacts looked insignificant against its massive barrier. But humanity did not stop firing. They had learned something important. Even giants could bleed if hit enough times. Shield integrity unchanged, Tactical reported. Reyes nodded. They're not meant to break it. She opened a private channel to Fleet Command. Operation Hammerfall begins now. Dozens of human ships suddenly changed course. Instead of firing from distance, they charged directly toward the flagship, ramming speed. Several captains transmitted final messages to Earth. Short words. Simple words. Hold the line. Tell my family I love them. For humanity, one by one, ships slammed into the alien shield. Each impact created small fluctuations, tiny instabilities. Exactly what Reyes needed. Opening detected, engineering shouted. The Indomitable surged forward. Its engines burned brighter than ever before. Every remaining Andromeda defense weapon locked onto it instantly. White beams struck its shields. Hull plating melted. Warning alarms screamed across the bridge. Shields at 40%. 30. Reyes did not slow. Maintain course. Inside the Zenith throne, the Overseer observed the approaching human vessel. They sacrificed themselves for advantage. A strategist said. Yes, the Overseer replied. Predict outcome? The human vessel will be destroyed. The Overseer watched silently. Yet something about the human's persistence disturbed its calculations. The Indomitable reached the unstable section of the flagship shield. Weapon charge. Reyes demanded 90%. Outside, human ships continued sacrificing themselves, widening the opening. The shield flickered violently. Fire on my command. Reyes said. Enemy beam struck again. Shields critical. Armor breach on deck 12. Crew members were thrown across the bridge as explosions rocked the ship. Reyes remained standing. Now, the Indomitable fired. A concentrated blue beam tore into the exposed section of the World Killer's shield. This time, the shield collapsed completely in that region. The beam punched into the flagship's outer hull. For the first time, the giant ship was damaged. A massive scar burned across its surface. Energy readings spiked uncontrollably. Across Earth, cheers erupted again. Humanity had wounded the monster, but celebration died quickly. The flagship did not stop. Its main weapon continued charging. Even damaged, it still had enough power to destroy Earth. Admiral, Tactical whispered, they're still preparing to fire. Reyes understood immediately. One shot was not enough. They needed something bigger, something desperate. She opened a fleet-wide channel. All remaining ships, concentrate fire on the breach. Human vessels unleashed everything they had left. Missiles, lasers, railguns. Every weapon struck the damaged area. The wound widened. Internal explosions rippled across the alien hull. The World Killer slowed slightly, but its primary cannon reached firing threshold. Energy gathered into a blinding sphere at the front of the ship. Target locked. Earth. Time to fire. 2 minutes. Inside the Indomitable, reactor warnings reached maximum levels. Core instability critical. Engineering shouted. If we push again, containment fails. Reyes looked at the growing energy sphere aimed at humanity's home. There was only one move left. She spoke quietly. Prepare overload sequence. The bridge fell silent. Everyone understood what that meant. The Indomitable itself would become the weapon. A one-way attack. Reyes stared at Earth glowing faintly behind them. Set collision course. Outside, the giant Andromeda weapon began to fire. Light brighter than a star formed at its center. The Indomitable accelerated directly toward it. Humanity's final gamble had begun. A beam of pure white energy erupted from the front of the Andromeda flagship, tearing through space toward Earth. It was wider than any human city, brighter than the sun strong enough to erase continents in a single breath. On Earth, every screen turned white. People held each other. Some closed their eyes. Others refused to. Impact in 12 seconds, a Pentagon officer shouted. General Marcus Hale did not move. He was staring at another feed, at one ship, the HFS Indomitable. The Indomitable accelerated directly into the path of the beam. Its engine screamed beyond safe limits. Hull plating peeled away under the pressure. The reactor core burned so bright it looked like a newborn star trapped inside metal. Admiral, we cannot survive this, engineering warned. Reyes stood steady. That was never planned. Collision in 5 seconds. The alien beam filled the entire forward viewport. It looked unstoppable. It looked final. Reyes gave one last command. Overload. The Indomitable's reactor containment collapsed intentionally. Instead of failing inward, it expanded outward. A blue sphere of compressed quantum energy exploded from the ship's core just as the white beam struck it. For one impossible moment, two suns collided. White and blue light twisted together in violent silence. Then, the beam fractured. Instead of continuing toward Earth, the energy scattered across space, deflected and destabilized by the Indomitable's sacrifice. The combined explosion tore into the World Killer at point-blank range. The flagship's primary cannon shattered. Entire sections of its outer hull disintegrated. The Indomitable vanished inside the blast. On Earth, the white glare faded. The planet still existed. Oceans remained. Cities stood. Humanity lived. Across the globe, silence spread first, then understanding. They were alive. In space, debris drifted where the Indomitable once had been. No signal. No wreckage large enough to identify. Admiral Sophia Reyes and her crew were gone, but the World Killer was no longer intact. Its front half was torn open, glowing with uncontrolled energy leaks. For the first time since entering the system, the massive ship began to fall back. Inside the Zenith throne, alarms screamed across Andromeda control panels. Sovereign execution platform critically damaged. The Overseer stared at the feed in disbelief. The humans had intercepted a planetary eradication beam. They had used their own vessel as a counterstar. Damage estimate? It demanded. 42% structural compromise. Primary cannon destroyed. Reactor stability failing. The Overseer processed the numbers. Humanity had just destroyed a platform that took decades to construct. A primitive species, with inferior technology, but limitless resolve. Back near Neptune, remaining human ships regrouped. Fleet losses were devastating. More than half the original defensive force was gone, yet morale surged beyond expectation. Lieutenant Arjun Rao floated inside his damaged fighter, watching the crippled World Killer retreat slightly. They stopped it, he whispered. A nearby pilot replied softly. They gave us a chance. General Hale removed his cap slowly inside the war chamber. Confirm Earth status. All planetary systems stable. Solar integrity stable. Enemy main weapon offline. Hale closed his eyes briefly. Reyes had done it, but the war was not finished. New reports began flooding in. The Andromeda fleet was not retreating. They were repositioning. Thousands of ships shifting into tighter formations around the damaged flagship, protecting it, preparing something else. On the Zenith throne, the Overseer issued a new directive. Human resistance exceeds acceptable projections. Recommend tactical withdrawal? A strategist asked cautiously. The overseer paused. Withdrawal was not an Andromeda doctrine, but extinction-level losses were also unacceptable. Negative, it finally said, deploy containment phase. The strategist hesitated. That protocol has not been used in centuries. Deploy it. Across the Andromeda fleet, energy signatures changed. Instead of charging large-scale weapons, they activated smaller, focus emitters. Beams of structured light shot outward in precise patterns. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then human sensors detected something alarming. They're not targeting ships, a human analyst reported. They're targeting space. What does that mean? Hale demanded. Dr. Lena Varma stared at the data, her face pale. They're building a barrier. Far beyond Earth's orbit, Andromeda ships began forming a massive spherical perimeter. Each vessel projected a continuous energy lattice. The beams connected, linked, expanded. Within minutes, a faint but visible grid surrounded the inner solar system. They're trapping us, Lena whispered. The realization spread quickly. Andromeda was not retreating. They were isolating, cutting Earth off from the rest of the galaxy. A prison built of light. Attempts to jump to faster-than-light speeds failed instantly. Human ships testing escape routes slammed into invisible resistance. The containment field blocked all external travel. Communications beyond the barrier faded into static. Earth was sealed. Completely. Inside the Zenith throne, the Overseer observed a completed structure. Humans display unpredictable aggression, it stated. Full eradication inefficient. Containment preferred. The strategist nodded. They will exhaust resources. They will fragment internally. They will surrender eventually. The Overseer's dark eyes focus on Earth. Time favors us. On Earth, the news spread quickly. No escape. No reinforcements. No allies. Humanity was alone inside its own solar system. General Hale looked around the war chamber. We stopped extinction, he said quietly. But now we're caged. No one argued. Outside, billions looked at the sky again, not with relief this time, but with understanding. The Andromeda Collective had changed strategy. If they could not erase humanity quickly, they would suffocate it slowly. And somewhere beyond the glowing prison of energy, the damaged world killer still lived, repairing, waiting. The war had entered a new phase. The containment field shimmered like a faint second sky. From Earth's surface, it was barely visible, just a thin web of light stretching across the darkness when sunlight hit it at the right angle. But in orbit, there was no doubt. Human ships that tried to cross it simply stopped, not exploded, not vaporized. Stopped, as if space itself had turned solid. Inside the Pentagon war chamber, General Marcus Hale listened to the latest report. All faster-than-light drives are non-functional inside the barrier. Subspace communications blocked. Long-range probes destroyed on contact. Dr. Lena Varma zoomed in on the holographic model of the lattice surrounding the solar system. It's not just a shield, she explained. It's a dimensional anchor. They've locked our region of space into a fixed gravitational state. Meaning? Hale asked. Meaning we are cut off from the galaxy. Silence followed. Earth had survived annihilation. Now it faced isolation. Near the containment edge, a small human frigate attempted one more test. Minimal thrust. The captain ordered the ship ease forward. The moment its nose touched the glowing lattice, the entire vessel froze mid-motion. Engines still firing. Thrusters still burning. But the ship did not move a single meter. Seconds later, a focused Andromeda beam lands from beyond the barrier. The frigate vanished. A warning shot. Humanity understood the message. Stay inside. On the damaged world killer. Repair systems activated. Entire sections of its hull reformed like liquid metal knitting itself back together. Inside the Zenith throne, the Overseer observed the process. Containment complete. A strategist confirmed. Human resistance level? Elevated morale despite heavy losses. The Overseer paused. They celebrate survival. Yes, they misinterpret survival as victory. The strategist did not respond. The overseer continued. They will understand the difference. Back on Earth, days passed. No new attacks. No new ultimatums. Just silence from Andromeda and the glowing prison around the solar system. Human fleets regrouped near Mars orbit. Damage assessments were brutal. Over half of the defensive fleet destroyed. Ammunition reserves critically low. The Indomitable gone. Admiral Reyes gone. Lieutenant Arjun Rao sat inside a repair hangar, watching technicians patch holes in his fighter. They could have killed us, one mechanic muttered. Rao shook his head. They still can. Emergency global summits replaced panic broadcasts. Leaders spoke not of surrender, but of endurance. If Andromeda wanted a long war, humanity would give them one. Factories moved into permanent wartime production. Asteroid mining operations expanded aggressively. Lunar shipyards worked around the clock. If Earth was trapped, then the solar system would become a fortress. General Hale stood before a group of scientists in a secured chamber. We cannot outgun them, he said plainly. So what can we do? Dr. Lena Varma activated a new projection, not of alien ships, but of the containment lattice itself. It requires constant energy stabilization from Andromeda vessels positioned along its outer perimeter. Hale narrowed his eyes. So if those ships fall, the barrier destabilizes. A dangerous idea formed in the room. Hit the jailers. But there was a problem. The barrier prevented exit. Andromeda ships outside it could fire inward. Humans could not fire outward with enough force to break through. Unless we don't attack from inside, Lena said quietly. Hale looked at her sharply. What are you suggesting? She zoomed in on the sun. We use what they fear. Days earlier, humanity had disrupted Andromeda's attempt to weaponize the sun. Now, Lena proposed a reverse. Solar flares generate natural dimensional disturbances, she explained. If amplified correctly, they could temporarily weaken a section of the lattice. And we slip through? Hale asked. Not ships, she replied. Something smaller. On the lunar surface, deep within Bastion Command, a hidden facility reopened. Inside, rested projects abandoned years ago. Autonomous war probes, experimental stealth drones, compact singularity charges never approved for use. Admiral Reyes had once argued humanity needed unconventional options. Now those options were being reactivated. Beyond the containment field, the Andromeda fleet remained vigilant. Their ships rotated positions with machine precision. Energy flowed continuously into the lattice. To them, humanity was contained, predictable, limited. The overseer reviewed long-term projections. Resource exhaustion timeline, 8 to 12 human years. Internal political fragmentation probability, high. Eventual surrender likelihood, increasing. Time favored Andromeda, or so they believed. 3 weeks into containment, Earth solar observatories detected a natural solar flare building intensity. Dr. Lena Varma stood in mission control, heart pounding. This is our window, she said. General Hale nodded. Execute. On the moon, a series of orbital mirrors repositioned. Experimental gravitational amplifiers activated. The natural flare intensified, slightly altered in direction. Not enough to damage Earth, but enough to ripple across the containment field. For a few critical seconds, a section of the lattice flickered, just barely. Launch. Hale ordered. From hidden silos on the dark side of the moon, dozens of stealth probes shot toward the weakened point. They were small, fast, barely detectable. Several disintegrated upon contact, but 5 slipped through before the lattice stabilized again. On the zenith throne, alarms activated. Containment fluctuation detected. Minor anomaly, a strategist reported. The overseer studied the data. No external breach confirmed. It dismissed the alert. Humanity, in its cage, could not pose a threat. Days passed, then weeks. Andromeda ships maintaining the barrier reported strange system failures. Minor at first. Power fluctuations. Sensor interference. Then one vessel at the far edge of the lattice went dark. No explosion. No distress signal. Just silence. Moments later, a delayed detonation ripped through its core from inside. A compact singularity charge activated. The ship collapsed inward, then vanished. The lattice flickered. Inside the Zenith throne, urgency replaced calm. External sabotage confirmed. How? Unknown microsignatures detected beyond the barrier. The Overseer's gaze hardened. Humans breached containment. The strategist corrected carefully. Partially. It was enough. Back on Earth, cheers erupted in war command. One Andromeda lattice anchor destroyed. A small gap appeared in the containment grid. Not large enough for ships, but large enough to send more probes. Humanity had proven something critical. The cage was not perfect. General Hale looked at the updated projections. If we take down enough anchors, the barrier collapses, Lena finished, but they will respond. Hale warned. Yes, she said, and that means they will make mistakes. Outside the solar system, Andromeda ships shifted aggressively. Search patterns expanded. Countermeasures activated. The Overseer issued a rare directive. Direct engagement teams to prepare. For the first time since containment began, Andromeda was reacting, not controlling. The war had changed again. Humanity was still trapped, still outmatched. But now, they were inside the enemy's calculations. And the Overseer no longer saw them as primitive. It saw them as dangerous. Beyond the damaged world killer, deeper in Andromeda space, a transmission was sent. Reinforcements requested, not for extermination, for conquest. The next phase would not be distant. It would be personal. The Andromeda response came faster than expected. For weeks, humanity had quietly sabotaged the containment lattice using stealth probes slipping through solar flare distortions. One anchor ship destroyed. Then another. Small victories. Careful victories. But Andromeda had finally understood what was happening, and they adapted. The first sign appeared near Saturn. A human mining station stopped transmitting. No distress signal. No explosion. Just silence. Rescue drones arrived hours later and found the station intact, but empty. Every worker gone. No bodies. No damage. Only one strange marking burned into the metal floor. A perfect silver circle. Inside the Pentagon War Chamber, General Marcus Hale stared at the recovered footage. They came inside, he said. Dr. Lena Varma nodded slowly. They must have opened localized entry points through the lattice. Meaning the cage works both ways. Hale muttered. Humanity could sneak probes out. Andromeda could send hunters in. Across the solar system, reports followed. A patrol ship vanished near Mars. A research lab on Europa went dark. Cargo convoys disappeared without battle. No debris. No warning. Something was moving through human space unseen. Lieutenant Arjun Rao received reassignment orders 2 days later. His fighter squadron joined a new defensive task force stationed around Jupiter. Their mission was simple: find hunters. Rao floated beside his fighter, listening to the briefing. They're small strike units, the commander explained. Stealth technology beyond anything we've seen. How many? Someone asked. The commander shook his head. We don't know. That answer unsettled everyone. Humans understood fleets. They understood battles. They did not understand enemies that erased targets silently. The hunters struck again. A convoy escort near Jupiter suddenly lost 3 ships. Survivors reported flashes of silver shapes moving faster than sensors could track. Energy blades cut through holes like paper. Weapons fired back blindly. Nothing connected. By the time reinforcements arrived, the attackers were gone. On the Zenith throne, the Overseer observed updated battle projections. Human sabotage continues, a strategist reported. Yes, the Overseer said calmly. Deploy adaptation units. The strategist hesitated. The hunters may provoke escalation. The Overseer's dark eyes reflected distant stars. Humans respond to pressure with innovation. Increase pressure. The goal was no longer destruction. It was control. Break their confidence. Break their unity. Force surrender. Humanity reacted differently. Instead of panic, they organized. General Hale approved Operation Nightwatch. Every colony, shipyard, and station shifted to layered defense patterns. Civilian sensors integrated into military networks. Mining drones converted into detection arrays. Millions of ordinary citizens became part of planetary defense. If Andromeda wanted to hunt humanity, humanity would hunt back. 3 days later, the trap worked. Near Callisto, an Andromeda hunter attacked a refueling station. But this time, hidden sensors tracked its gravitational distortion. Target locked. Rao's wing commander shouted. Human fighters jumped in instantly. For the first time, they saw one clearly. The hunter's ship was sleek and narrow, almost organic in shape. Its surface shimmered, bending light around it. It moved impossibly fast. One human fighter exploded instantly. Another lost engines. Rao adjusted his trajectory manually, predicting rather than tracking. He remembered something Admiral Reyes once said during training simulations. Aliens calculate. Humans improvise. Instead of aiming where the ship was, he fired where it needed to go. The railgun burst struck empty space. A split second later, the hunter flew directly into it. Its cloaking field shattered. Missiles followed instantly. The alien craft erupted in silver fire. Cheers filled the comm channel. Humanity had killed a hunter. Recovered debris revealed disturbing information. The craft contained no crew, no cockpit, no life signs. Dr. Lena Varma analyzed the fragments. They're autonomous combat intelligences, she said. Drones. She hesitated. More like thinking weapons. Machines designed to learn from every encounter, which meant every battle made them smarter. The overseer received the destruction report. Hunter unit loss. Cause human predictive targeting. The overseer processed the data carefully. They learn faster under stress, it said. Yes. Then escalate again. New orders spread through the Andromeda fleet. More hunters deployed. Larger infiltration units prepared. Humanity would face pressure everywhere at once. Back on Earth, morale shifted again. The hunters frightened civilians more than the fleet ever had. A visible enemy inspired defiance. An invisible one inspired fear. General Hale addressed the planet directly for the first time. We are not prisoners, he said. We are defenders. He paused, choosing his words carefully. They came into our home thinking we would hide. His voice hardened. They were wrong. Across Earth, volunteers joined planetary defense networks. Civilian satellites scanned space continuously. Children tracked orbital patterns through public apps. Entire cities turned into sensor grids. Humanity transformed the cage into a battlefield. Meanwhile, deep within a classified lunar facility, scientists activated another hidden project, a system partially designed by Admiral Reyes before her final mission, Project Aegis. Not a ship, not a weapon, a network. Thousands of linked AI-assisted targeting platforms designed to predict enemy movement using human behavioral randomness. The system powered online slowly, learning, watching, waiting. Near Saturn's orbit, the next hunter squadron arrived. They moved confidently, expecting easy prey. Instead, hundreds of hidden sensors lit them up simultaneously. Human ships appeared from unexpected vectors. Missile clouds surrounded them. Aegis predicted escape routes before the hunters even attempted them. One by one, the Andromeda infiltrators were destroyed. For the first time since containment began, the hunters were being hunted. Inside the Zenith throne, the overseer studied new projections. Human resistance was not weakening. It was evolving. Containment had not broken them. It had sharpened them. Human threat classification updated. The strategist said carefully. The overseer nodded. From emerging threat, it paused briefly, to adaptive civilization. A dangerous designation, one rarely given, because adaptive civilizations did not surrender. They transformed war itself. Far beyond the containment field, Andromeda reinforcements finally arrived. An entirely new armada exited hyperspace. Larger, heavier, built for prolonged occupation. The overseer issued its next command. Prepare planetary compliance operation. Inside the solar system, alarms rang across human command networks. Massive energy signatures approached the outer lattice. The enemy was preparing something far bigger than hunters. Something meant to end resistance permanently. Humanity had survived destruction. They had survived imprisonment. Now they face invasion. The Andromeda fleet changed formation. Human sensors detected it instantly. For weeks, the enemy had maintained a containment lattice and deployed hunters inside the solar system. Their movements were precise, but limited. Now the entire armada began moving at once. Thousands of ships shifted positions along the outer barrier. Energy readings spiked across every monitoring station. "They're reconfiguring the lattice," Dr. Lena Varma said inside the Pentagon War Chamber. General Marcus Hale stepped closer to the projection. "For what?" Lena zoomed in on several Andromeda vessels, aligning above Earth's orbital plane. Her voice lowered. "They're opening control corridors." Corridors? For troop insertion. The realization hit everyone at the same time. They were no longer trying to destroy humanity from afar. They were coming in. Across Earth, emergency sirens activated. Orbital defense platforms powered up. Civilian traffic cleared space lanes. Every human fleet received the same transmission. Planetary Defense Condition Omega. This was the scenario humanity had feared most. Occupation. Near the containment field, enormous Andromeda carriers unfolded. Their hulls opened like mechanical flowers, revealing thousands of smaller craft inside. Dropships, assault vessels, atmospheric war machines. Lieutenant Arjun Rao watched the feed from his fighter cockpit. "They're invading," his wingmate whispered. Rao nodded. "Then we stopped them here." The first corridor opened above Mars' orbit. Space bent inward, forming a stable passage through containment lattice. Andromeda assault ships streamed through in perfect formation. Human defense fleets attacked immediately. Missiles flooded the corridor. Railgun rounds streaked through incoming waves. Several alien craft exploded, but more followed. Always more. Inside the Zenith throne, the Overseer observed calmly, human resistance increasing. "Yes," a strategist replied. "Continue insertion." The Overseer had changed tactics completely. If humans adapted to pressure, then Andromeda would overwhelm adaptation itself. Control the planets. Control the population. Victory without annihilation. Earth's orbital defenses fired continuously. Satellite cannons burned through dozens of alien transports. Fighter wings intercepted drop formations entering atmosphere. Explosions lit the upper sky like artificial meteor showers. For the first time, civilians could see the war directly. Silver streaks burning across the heavens. Alien ships falling toward oceans and deserts. Humanity watched its defenders fight above their world. General Hale turned toward Lena. "We cannot win a ground war against their technology." She nodded. "I know. So why invade?" Lena hesitated. "Because they believe proximity removes our advantage." Humans adapted quickly at distance. But under occupation, societies fractured, resistance weakened. It was psychological warfare on a planetary scale. Meanwhile, deep within Lunar Command, Project Aegis reached full activation. Thousands of link prediction systems analyzed every Andromeda movement. Patterns emerged. Drop routes, command frequencies, navigation logic. Human unpredictability began corrupting alien efficiency. Aegis transmitted new firing solutions across the fleet. Suddenly, human defenses improved dramatically. Fighters intercepted dropships before deployment. Missiles struck exact weak points. Alien formations lost synchronization. Near Earth orbit, Rao's squadron intercepted a wave of Andromeda landing craft. The alien ships moved flawlessly, too perfectly. Rao smiled slightly. Perfect patterns are predictable. He cut engines suddenly, drifting sideways while firing manually. His shots disrupted formation spacing. Other pilots followed instinct instead of protocol. Chaos entered the battlefield. Several alien craft collided. Others drifted into defensive fire. Within minutes, the entire drop wave collapsed. Human comm channels filled with excited voices. They were learning faster again. But the Overseer had anticipated resistance. "Deploy compliance signal," it ordered. A massive Andromeda vessel moved into position above Earth's atmosphere. Instead of weapons, it emitted a wide-spectrum transmission. Every human device flickered. Screens turned silver. The alien figure appeared again. Citizens of Earth, the overseer spoke calmly. You have demonstrated resilience. Images appeared behind it. Destroyed cities from human history. Wars. Nuclear explosions. Human suffering. You destroy yourselves without guidance. Resistance prolongs suffering. The tone never changed. Surrender governance. Accept integration. Survival guaranteed. Across Earth, billions watched silently. Some felt fear. Some felt doubt. The message targeted emotion, not logic. Divide the species. Win without battle. General Hale muted the transmission inside the war chamber. They think we'll turn on each other. Lena nodded. They studied history. Hale looked at reports flooding in from every continent. Protests forming. Arguments starting online. The compliance signal was working. Slowly, subtly, humanity's greatest weakness had always been itself. Then something unexpected happened. A civilian broadcast interrupted the alien signal. A young girl's voice replaced the overseer across global networks. Her message was simple. We are still here. More feeds joined. Teachers, doctors, pilots, construction workers, astronauts. Millions of people sharing one phrase. We do not surrender. The alien broadcast weakened beneath the wave of human response. Unity replaced fear. For the first time, the overseer observed something it struggled to quantify. Collective defiance without central command. Human fleets counterattacked. Using data from Aegis, they targeted corridor generators maintaining invasion routes. One generator exploded. Then another. Each destruction destabilized insertion pathways. Andromeda assault waves faltered. Dropships stranded mid-transition disintegrated. The invasion slowed. Inside the Zenith throne, probability models shifted rapidly. Human cohesion increasing, the strategist reported. The overseer remained still. They refused submission. Yes. Then escalation required. A new command transmitted across the Andromeda Armada. Ships began withdrawing from invasion formation. Energy redirected toward the containment lattice itself. Human sensors detected it immediately. They're changing the field, Lena said. How? Hale asked. Her face went pale. They're compressing it. Across the solar system, the glowing prism began shrinking, slowly at first, then faster. Outer planets fell closer to the boundary. Orbital stations scrambled to relocate. Ships near the edge were crushed as space itself folded inward. Andromeda had chosen a new strategy. If humans would not surrender, the cage would tighten until survival became impossible. Planets would be stripped of resources. Space would become unlivable. A slow execution. General Hale looked at the shrinking boundary. How long? Lena calculated quickly. Months before outer colonies fail. Years before Earth itself is threatened. Hale nodded once. Then we don't wait years. He turned toward Fleet Command. Prepare breakout protocol. Humanity would no longer defend. They would escape, or die trying, beyond the collapsing lattice. Andromeda ships prepared to finish the containment. Inside it, humanity prepared its boldest move yet. The next battle would decide everything. The containment field began to close. At first, the movement was almost invisible, a slow tightening across millions of kilometers of space. But within hours, the effects became undeniable. Outer mining stations lost safe orbit paths. Asteroid colonies were forced inward. Ships stationed near the boundary reported gravitational distortions strong enough to tear hulls apart. Humanity's prison was shrinking. Andromeda was not rushing victory anymore. They were squeezing it. Inside the Pentagon war chamber, emergency projections filled the air. Red zones expanded across the holographic solar system. If compression continues at this rate, Dr. Lena Varma said, Jupiter's orbit becomes unstable in 83 days. And after that, General Hale asked, the entire system destabilizes, meaning Earth would eventually face extinction without a single shot fired. Hale turned toward Fleet Command. Begin breakout protocol. For decades, humanity had secretly prepared for worst-case scenarios, extinction-level events, solar collapse, Unknown alien threats. Breakout protocol was never meant to be used because it required risking everything. On the moon, Bastion Command activated hidden hangars sealed since before first contact. Massive structures awakened beneath layers of rock and metal. Ships, unlike standard human vessels, powered on. Experimental craft. Prototype jump carriers. Gravitic tunneling platforms. Projects Admiral Reyes had helped authorize years earlier. Humanity had never stopped preparing, even when peace seemed permanent. Lieutenant Arjun Rao received orders redirecting all combat squadrons to escort formation. His fighter docked beside one of the prototype carriers. The ship looked unfinished. Angular plating. External reactor assemblies. Too many exposed systems. "What is this thing?" a pilot asked over comms. Rao read the designation displayed across its hull. Horizon Gate. He smiled slightly. A way out. Dr. Lena Varma explained the plan to Global Command. "The containment lattice works by anchoring local space-time," she said. "We cannot break it directly." She highlighted a narrow section near the sun's magnetic pole. "But if we overload one region using synchronized stellar energy and quantum jump fields." Hale finished the sentence. "We punch a hole." "Only for seconds," Lena warned. "One chance." Failure meant losing the fleet. Success meant freedom. Andromeda detected unusual human activity immediately. Inside the Zenith throne, the Overseer watched energy readings rise across the inner system. Human fleets consolidating. Purpose. The strategist processed the data. Unknown large-scale operation. The Overseer studied the patterns carefully. Humans did not move without purpose. Prepare interception. Andromeda ships shifted toward the sun. Human fleets gathered near solar orbit. Every surviving warship, every carrier, every drone platform. Thousands of vessels formed a massive sphere around the Horizon Gate platforms. Solar energy collectors unfolded, absorbing enormous stellar power. The sun itself became part of humanity's weapon. General Hale opened a system-wide transmission. His voice reached every human ship and colony. "This is not retreat," he said. "It is survival." He paused. "We are not escaping the fight. We are taking it beyond the cage." Across the fleet, responses flooded in. Pilots ready. Engineers ready. Humanity ready. The Horizon Gate activated. Gigantic rings extended outward, glowing with unstable blue energy. Gravity twisted violently. Solar plasma streamed toward the structure like rivers of fire. Energy alignment at 60%. Engineers reported. 70. 80. The containment lattice reacted instantly. Andromeda ships fired concentrated beams toward the gate. Human fleets intercepted. The largest space battle of the war erupted near the sun. Alien warships advanced in perfect formation. Human ships broke formation constantly, adapting moment to moment. Missiles detonated against alien shields. White beams carved through human cruisers. Explosions filled solar orbit. Ships burned against the backdrop of the star itself. Rao's squadron dove directly into incoming Andromeda interceptors. "Protect the gate at all costs," Fleet Command ordered. Alien hunters moved faster than before, learning from previous encounters. Rao adjusted instinctively, guiding his fighter through impossible turns. He fired without waiting for targeting confirmation. One hunter exploded. Another pursued him relentlessly. His warning alarm screamed. A friendly frigate rammed the hunter from behind, sacrificing itself to save him. "Keep flying," the captain transmitted calmly before the signal vanished. Rao swallowed hard. Humanity was paying for every second. Inside the Zenith throne, the Overseer watched human losses accumulate. "They sacrifice endlessly," a strategist said. "Yes," the Overseer replied, "and it works." Human fleets were delaying interception longer than predicted. The Overseer issued a direct order. Deploy the Sovereign flagship. The damaged World Killer advanced again. Its repaired systems glowed brighter than before. If it reached firing range, the Horizon Gate would be destroyed instantly. "Flagship incoming," human sensors warned. General Hale felt time slipping away. "How long?" he asked. "Gate requires 3 more minutes." 3 minutes against the largest weapon ever built. The World Killer fired, not at Earth, at the horizon gate. A massive energy beam surged forward. Human ships rushed to intercept, forming a living shield. Dozens were destroyed instantly. Still, the beam advanced. Closer, closer. Inside the gate, reactors began failing under strain. Stability dropping. Engineers shouted. Lena Varma clenched her hands. Hold together just a little longer. At the final moment, something unexpected happened. A faint signal appeared near the battlefield. Unknown origin, unknown signature. Then space warped beside the horizon gate. A distorted energy wave struck the incoming beam, weakening it slightly. Just enough. The beam grazed the gate instead of destroying it. Energy surged uncontrollably. The containment lattice flickered. A massive rupture opened. A hole in the prison. Portal open, Fleet Command shouted. Ships accelerated immediately. Carriers jumped first. Fighters followed. Civilian evacuation vessels streamed toward freedom. Humanity surged through the breach. Andromeda's ships attempted pursuit, but the unstable opening collapsed seconds later. The containment field snapped back into place. But it was too late. Part of humanity was now outside the cage. Silence spread across the battlefield. Inside the solar system, remaining human forces regrouped. Outside, escape fleets entered open galactic space for the first time since the war began. General Hale stared at the reports. We did it. But Lena Varma frowned. That interference that saved the gate, it wasn't ours. They replayed the sensor data. The energy signature did not match human or Andromeda technology. Someone else had intervened, somewhere beyond the stars. Another civilization had noticed the war, and they had just helped humanity escape. Inside the Zenith throne, the Overseer studied the same data. Its voice lowered for the first time. We are no longer the only observers. The war had expanded beyond Andromeda and Earth. Humanity was no longer alone. The escaped human fleet drifted in unfamiliar space. For the first time since Andromeda's arrival, humanity looked outward without a barrier blocking the stars. Unknown constellations filled navigation displays. Long-range sensors struggled to orient themselves. They were free, but they were also alone. Admiral Command transferred temporarily to Fleet Marshal Daniel Okoye, the senior surviving officer beyond the containment field. He stood on the bridge of the carrier Resolute Dawn, watching the shattered remnants of the jump formation stabilize. Status report, he ordered. 73 ships successfully escaped. Civilian vessels intact. Multiple ships heavily damaged. Okoye nodded slowly. They had lost thousands to open the breach. Freedom had a cost. Behind them, the containment lattice sealed again. Earth remained trapped inside. General Hale and billions of humans were still prisoners. The breakout fleet had not escaped the run. They escaped to fight back. Dr. Lena Varma's remote data package arrived through a narrow quantum relay established during the jump. Her recorded message played across command screens. If you're seeing this, she said, the breakout worked. Your mission is now critical. A star map appeared. Highlighted regions showed Andromeda supply routes extending far beyond the solar system. They control territory through logistics, Lena continued. Break the network and the containment fails. Okoye understood immediately. They were no longer defenders. They were raiders behind enemy lines. Long-range scanners suddenly detected the same strange energy signature that had interfered during the escape. Unknown vessel. No propulsion trail. No recognizable structure. Just a distortion in space. Human ships raised weapons instantly. Unidentified contact approaching. The distortion expanded slowly. Then it resolved into a ship, or something that resembled one. Its surface looked like flowing crystal, constantly reshaping itself. Light bent around it in impossible colors. No visible weapons. No recognizable technology. Silence filled human comm channels. The unknown vessel transmitted first. Not words. Concepts. Images appeared directly across human displays. Ancient stars dying. Civilizations rising and falling. Galaxies turning slowly through time. Then a translation formed. We observed your resistance. Fleet Marshal Okoye exchanged looks with his officers. "You helped us," he said carefully. The reply came instantly. "Yes." Inside the alien vessel, beings known as the Valari watched humanity closely. They were older than Andromeda, older than most civilizations still alive. They rarely interfered in younger species' conflicts. But humanity had done something rare. They had fought extinction without surrender. That attracted attention. The Valari message continued. The Andromeda Collective expands endlessly. Most civilizations surrender before adaptation occurs. Another image appeared. Dozens of extinct species erased across history. They did not predict you. Okoye felt the weight of those words. "What do you want from us?" he asked. A pause followed. Then the answer. "Balance." Back inside the solar system, Andromeda Command reacted to the breakout with controlled urgency. Inside the Zenith Throne, the Overseer reviewed lost projections. Human forces operating beyond containment. "Yes," a strategist confirmed. "Threat level increasing." The Overseer stared at the data longer than usual. Humanity had escaped confinement. Now they could strike unpredictably. For the first time, Andromeda territory itself was vulnerable. "Dispatch pursuit fleets," the Overseer ordered. "Do not allow expansion." Outside the solar system, the Valari transmitted tactical data to human ships, Andromeda relay stations, fuel harvesting worlds, command nexuses coordinating distant fleets. Human officers stared in disbelief. The Valari possessed knowledge spanning thousands of years. "You've been watching them this whole time?" Okoye asked. "Yes." "Why not stop them yourselves?" The answer came slowly. Intervention destroys growth. Survival must be earned. Humanity had earned assistance, but not salvation. The breakout fleet reorganized quickly. Damaged ships repaired using shared resources. Civilian vessels moved to protected formation. Fighter squadrons rearmed. For the first time, humans prepared to attack Andromeda space itself. Lieutenant Arjun Rao stood beside his fighter aboard the Resolute Dawn. He looked out at unfamiliar stars. "We're really doing this," a pilot said beside him. Rao nodded. "They trapped our home." He climbed into his cockpit. "Now we visit theirs." The first target was an Andromeda logistics hub orbiting a dead star. The facility coordinated supply lines feeding the containment fleet around Earth. Destroy it, and the prison would weaken. Human ships exited faster than light travel at attack distance. No speeches. No warnings. Missiles launched instantly. Railguns fired. The Andromeda station reacted too slowly. They had never expected humans to attack outside containment so quickly. Explosions tore through massive storage rings. Fuel reserves ignited. The station collapsed into a burning halo of debris. Humanity had struck back. Inside the Zenith Throne, alarms activated again. External supply hub destroyed. The Overseer turned sharply. "Confirmed human involvement?" "Yes." Silence followed. The Overseer updated projections. Human extinction probability dropped further. The war had shifted from suppression to competition. "Mobilize full conquest fleets," it ordered. If humanity expands beyond containment, they become equal adversaries. That designation had not been granted in centuries. Back with the breakout fleet, the Valari ship remained nearby, watching, studying. Before departing, they transmitted one final message. "You are no longer prey." A star map appeared, highlighting a massive Andromeda command region. The war center lies here. Then the Valari vessel faded from existence, gone as suddenly as it arrived. Humanity had gained knowledge, but the next steps would be theirs alone. Fleet Marshal Okoye turned toward his command crew. "We free Earth," he said. And then he looked at the expanding galactic map. "Then we make sure no one ever cages humanity again." Behind them, Andromeda pursuit fleets exited hyperspace. Ahead of them lay enemy territory. Between them, a war that now spanned galaxies. And deep inside the shrinking containment field around Earth, Andromeda prepared its final move. Inside containment field, Earth felt the pressure tightening. The glowing lattice had shrunk again. Outer mining colonies were gone now. either evacuated or crushed by spatial distortion. Jupiter's orbit trembled under gravitational stress. Long-range probes confirmed what scientists feared. Andromeda had begun the final compression phase. This time it would not stop. In the Pentagon War Chamber, General Marcus Hale studied the projection of the solar system. Red lines marked unstable regions. If this continues, Dr. Lena Varma said quietly, Earth's orbital stability will begin degrading within 6 months. Hale nodded. They're forcing a decision. Yes, Lena replied. Surrender or slow extinction. But something had changed. For the first time since the war began, Hale did not feel trapped. Status of breakout fleet? He asked. Confirmed destruction of 3 Andromeda supply hubs, an officer replied. Containment energy fluctuations detected. Hale allowed himself a small breath. Good. Because pressure worked both ways. Far beyond the lattice, Fleet Marshal Daniel Okoye led humanity's first deep strike into Andromeda-controlled territory. The breakout fleet had grown. More ships escaped through smaller breaches created by sabotage. Civilian transports had transformed into war support vessels. Every human outside the cage understood their mission: break the Empire, free Earth. The target now was not a supply hub. It was an Andromeda command nexus. A colossal station orbiting a blue-white giant star, coordinating fleet movements across thousands of light years. If it fell, Andromeda's response time would fracture. Humanity would gain momentum. Lieutenant Arjun Rao adjusted his fighter's position as the fleet exited faster than light travel. The command nexus filled his screen. It was larger than anything built near Earth. Layered rings rotated around a central spire. Energy flowed across it like living veins. Multiple defense platforms active, Tactical reported. They're expecting us now. Okoye's voice came through fleet comms. Then let's exceed expectations. Human ships attacked in layered waves. First drones, then missile swarms, then heavy cruisers firing sustained railgun barges. Andromeda defenses responded with terrifying precision. Entire wings of drones vanished instantly. 2 human destroyers were cut in half. But unlike earlier battles, humans were no longer fighting blindly. Valari intelligence had mapped weak points in Andromeda architecture: structural stress nodes, power distribution hubs, predictable redundancies. Rao's squadron targeted a rotating energy conduit exactly where predicted. His railgun round struck the joint. Moments later, the entire outer ring destabilized and exploded outward. The Nexus shield grid flickered. Hit confirmed, someone shouted. Humanity pressed forward. Inside the Zenithrone, alarms flared again. Command Nexus under heavy assault. The Overseer stood motionless. Human strike capacity? Exceeds projection. The Overseer processed the data slowly. They adapt under expansion as well as pressure. Yes. And they escalate without hesitation. The strategist paused. Yes. The Overseer made a decision few Andromeda leaders had ever made: reclassify humanity. The strategist looked up. To what level? The Overseer's voice lowered. Equal adversary. The word echoed across the chamber. Equal, not prey, not emerging threat. Equal. Back at the Nexus, the battle intensified. Human boarding pods breached outer hull segments. Close quarters combat erupted inside alien corridors. Andromeda combat drones fought with cold efficiency. But humans fought with unpredictability. Improvised explosives. Manual overrides. Sacrifice for advantage. Within minutes, core systems overloaded. Evacuate, Okoye ordered. Human ships pulled back as the command nexus collapsed inward, its reactor imploding into brilliant white light. Another Andromeda command structure gone. Across the galaxy, Andromeda fleet coordination stuttered. Containment energy around Earth flickered again. Inside the solar system, Lena Varma saw it immediately. The lattice is weakening. General Hale stepped forward. How much? 3% fluctuation. Not enough to collapse it, but enough to prove something important. Andromeda was not untouchable. The Overseer issued emergency reinforcement commands across its empire, but communications lagged. Coordination errors increased. Human strikes were creating fractures faster than Andromeda could repair them. For the first time in centuries, the collective faced uncertainty. In response, Andromeda deployed its final reserve fleet. Massive warships unseen until now exited hyperspace near the containment field. They were not elegant. They were brutal, designed for overwhelming conquest. Their objective was clear: destroy Earth before the breakout fleet could cripple the Empire further. Inside the shrinking solar system, alarm screamed. Massive energy spike at outer lattice. General Hale looked up sharply. Report: new Andromeda armada assembling, larger than initial invasion force. Silence filled the room. They were escalating to total annihilation. No more slow compression. No more psychological warfare. This would be decisive. Hale opened a direct transmission to Fleet Marshal Okoye beyond the lattice. Daniel, he said calmly, they're preparing a final assault. Okoye stood on his bridge, surrounded by flickering damage reports from the Nexus battle. Understood. We may not hold. Okoye looked at the galactic map, then at the coordinates of the containment field. We're not finished out here. No, Hale agreed, but Earth might be. Silence passed between them. Then Okoye spoke. We strike the core. Hale narrowed his eyes. The Andromeda capital region. Yes. If we remove the head, Okoye continued, the body collapses. It was madness, a direct assault into the heart of a civilization thousands of years older. But humanity no longer thought in terms of survival alone. They thought in terms of ending the threat forever. Inside the Zenith throne, the Overseer sensed a shift. Human fleet altering course. To where? Toward the sovereign core. The Overseer turned slowly. They choose escalation over defense. Yes. The strategist's voice contained something unfamiliar. Concern. Back inside the containment field, the Andromeda Final Assault Fleet began charging weapons capable of shattering planetary crust. Energy gathered across hundreds of ships. The sky above Earth began to glow faintly as the lattice strained. General Hale looked at Lena. How long until impact? Hours. Hale straightened his uniform. Then we make those hours count. Across Earth, humanity prepared one last planetary defense. Beyond the lattice, the breakout fleet accelerated toward the Andromeda heart world. The war had reached its highest point. One side would break, and the galaxy would remember which one. The sky above Earth turned silver, not with clouds, not with storm, with enemy fire charging beyond the containment lattice. Hundreds of Andromeda warships aligned in perfect formation around the shrinking barrier. Their weapons glowed brighter with each passing second, gathering energy strong enough to fracture continents. Inside the Pentagon war chamber, General Marcus Hale stood perfectly still. How long? He asked. Dr. Lena Varma didn't look away from her screen. Primary bombardment in 27 minutes. That was all the time humanity had left. Across Earth, emergency systems activated, orbital cannons repositioned, missile platforms powered up, ground-based railguns locked on the targets they could barely reach through the glowing lattice. There were no evacuation orders. There was nowhere to go. Families gathered together again. But this time, something felt different. The fear was still there, but so was pride. They had fought. They had resisted. They had forced a galactic empire to treat them as equals. If this was the end, it would not be a quiet one. Far beyond the containment field, Fleet Marshal Daniel Okoye led the breakout fleet at maximum acceleration. Their target filled the forward display. The Sovereign Core, the heart of Andromeda Authority, a massive artificial construct orbiting a neutron star. Rings of energy surrounded it like a crown of light. Thousands of defense ships guarded its perimeter. It was not just a capital. It was a symbol of their dominance. Okoye opened a fleet-wide channel. Earth has minutes, he said calmly. We end this now. Inside the Zenith throne, the Overseer watched both battlefronts simultaneously. The assault fleet around Earth was ready. The Sovereign Core defenses were charging. Humanity had chosen the most dangerous path possible. Direct confrontation. The strategist spoke carefully. If the humans breach the core, command structure destabilizes. Yes, the Overseer replied. Probability of their success? Low. The overseer stared at the data from every previous engagement. Low did not mean impossible, and humans specialize in impossible. Back at Earth, the Andromeda assault fleet fired. A wave of energy beams struck the containment lattice first, amplifying its compression. The barrier glowed violently as planetary bombardment cannons aligned behind it. The sky shimmered. Oceans trembled. Mountains vibrated faintly under distant pressure. Hail gripped the command table. All defenses fire. Earth answered. Orbital platforms unleashed continuous laser barges. Missiles streaked upward in endless waves. Railgun slugs slammed into the lattice nodes, supporting enemy weapons. Explosions lit the upper atmosphere, like artificial dawn. Several Andromeda ships were destroyed, but dozens remained, and their weapons continued charging. At the Sovereign Core, humanity attacked without hesitation. Missile swarms detonated across outer defense rings. Cruisers focused railgun fire on shield junctions. Boarding pods launched through gaps created by precise strikes. Lieutenant Arjun Rao's fighter wing pierced through defensive fire and targeted a power conduit feeding the Corps' command spire. Direct hit! His wingmate shouted as the conduit ruptured. Shields flickered across the massive structure. Not enough, but weakening. Okoye issued the next order. Deploy singularity payloads. Hidden inside 3 modified carriers were compact gravitational warheads built from the same experimental research that created the Indomitable's core. They were never meant for use. Until now, inside the Zenithrone, alarms intensified. Core shield integrity dropping. The Overseer's gaze sharpened. Redirect Earth assault fleet to defend the core. The strategist hesitated. Earth will survive if we withdraw. The Overseer paused. Earth's destruction guaranteed dominance, but losing the core risked collapse. For the first time in Andromeda history, the Overseer faced a true strategic dilemma. Near Earth, Andromeda assault ships received new orders. Half the fleet disengaged instantly, jumping toward the Sovereign Core. The remaining ships continued bombardment, but with reduced strength. On Earth, Lena saw it immediately. They're pulling back. Hale exhaled slowly. They're choosing survival. The bombardment weakened. Human defenses held. Earth was no longer seconds from destruction, but the war's outcome now depended on what happened at the core. At the Sovereign Core, the battle reached its peak. Human ships rammed defense cruisers to open paths. Boarding teams disabled internal reactors. The singularity carriers moved into position. Okoye's voice remained steady. Fire. 3 gravitational warheads launched directly into the exposed shield gaps. They penetrated deep into the core's structure, then detonated. Space twisted violently. The core's outer rings collapsed inward. Massive fractures spread across its command spire. Energy cascaded uncontrollably through its systems. Inside the Zenithrone, the floor trembled. Core structural collapse imminent. A strategist shouted. The Overseer watched the display. Without blinking, the humans had done it. They had reached the heart. Across Andromeda-controlled space, fleet coordination signals flickered. Command hierarchies destabilized. Containment protocols around Earth faltered. The lattice began dissolving. Near Earth, the glowing prison cracked like glass. Sections vanished entirely. Ships inside the solar system felt the sudden release of gravitational pressure. The containment field collapsed. Earth was free. At the Sovereign Core, the massive structure imploded in silent brilliance. Human ships retreated at full thrust. The explosion consumed the core, leaving only expanding debris around the neutron star. The central authority of the Andromeda Collective was gone. Across the galaxy, Andromeda fleets halted. Without centralized command, their perfect coordination fractured. Some retreated, some held position. But the era of unstoppable expansion ended in that moment. Hours later, silence replaced battle. The containment field around Earth had vanished completely. Andromeda assault ships withdrew to defensive positions far from human space. No new attacks came. No new ultimatums. Only a single transmission. The Overseer appeared one final time. You were offered surrender, it said calmly. You chose resistance. It paused. Your species has achieved autonomous survival status. A formal acknowledgement, not defeat spoken aloud, but acceptance. The collective will not pursue further expansion into your territory. The signal ended. Inside the Pentagon, Hale lowered his head briefly. Then he looked up. Confirm. All Andromeda fleets withdrawing beyond former boundary. An officer reported. Lena allowed herself a rare smile. We're free. Beyond Earth, the breakout fleet regrouped among unfamiliar stars. Lieutenant Rao removed his helmet and stared at the galaxy stretching endlessly before him. They had not just survived. They had changed the balance of power. Fleet Marshal Okoye transmitted one final message to Earth. It's done. Cheers erupted across every continent. Strangers embraced. Cities lit up the night sky in celebration. Humanity had faced annihilation, imprisonment, occupation, and they had answered with adaptation. Sacrifice, unity. Months later, reconstruction began. New fleets were built, not for conquest, but for protection. New alliances were formed. The Valari watched from a distance, silent but approving. The Andromeda Collective restructured its empire, more cautious now. Humanity was no longer a primitive species, on the edge of a spiral arm. They were a power, recognized, respected, feared. In a quiet memorial near the rebuilt lunar shipyards, a statue stood. Admiral Sophia Reyes, facing the stars. Below it were carved simple words. We do not kneel. And beyond the solar system, among civilizations older than memory, humanity's name was spoken with something new. Not pity, not dismissal, but acknowledgement. The species that would not surrender. The species that turned a final warning into a new beginning. The galaxy would never cage them again.